Well, hello, my friend. How are you? So, I'm filming this on a Sunday. I haven't really been going to any religious institutions as of late, but I have been reflecting on my recent journeys to them. And based on my short exposure to the space of Orthodox Christianity, I had some thoughts and some ideas uh, related to why I think Orthodox Christianity has such a growing pulse. Why is it gripping people better than the Protestants could? Um, you know, and of course this is all relative. It's not like Orthodoxy is a major um, majority movement in the United States, but it is growing very quickly. And it does have the interest of specifically a lot of young men. And I think there are some reasons which are obvious. The adherence to a very specific tradition, the high levels of um, sort of conservative living styles, high emphasis on morals, moral living, the kinds of ways that you need to live a good life. Um, there's like a focus on work, focus on relationship with God. Um, of course, there's an observance of um, ritual and a routine building modality, and I think that maybe of the three major sects, maybe Orthodoxy has the most rigorous routine building tradition. I'm not sure because I have not attended a Catholic church, which I'm considering going and doing that just to see what they do. I've heard that it's pretty similar to the Orthodox Church, although there are some nuanced differences. Some of them not that nuanced. Some of them are quite large differences. But I've been considering. So, what is it that I think is causing a lot of this pull towards orthodoxy? And why do I think young men are seeking it aside from the obvious things that we just outlined? I guess I didn't mention one, which is that the women are a little bit more traditional and conservative as well. And young men are increasingly looking for young women who are more conservative, more traditional, who want a kind of a simple model life where they can get married and have children and they're happy to be the providers. They just want someone who's going to actually join in that and appreciate it and participate in that life and I think you can find women like that in the Orthodox Church. It's a smaller group, but they're there. I do think you're going to get a little bit ratioed. See, when based on my impressions when I went, there was a lot more young men than a lot of young women. So I think you're going to be ratioed a little bit, but it's still not a bad place to at least peek your head in and see if that's the kind of thing you want. You might find it there. All right, we'll put all that aside. What is the reason I've made this video? What is this new revelation that is occurring to me as far as why people might be seeking out the Orthodox Church specifically instead of the Catholic and the Protestant Church? And it is actually something that caused me to want to stop going. I'm a you could say I'm a product of my time. I'm a philosophically inclined, empirical rationalist. At some level, that's what I am. I like to observe scientific data. I like to read charts. I like to form theories. You know, uh, I like Sir Francis Bacon. I like Galileo. I like Isaac Newton. Um, and in some ways, I like people who are a lot older than those traditions too. But at some level, I love to um, read the collection of facts, which, by the way, just for those who are listening, I don't believe that facts and truths are the same thing. I think that facts are a lower order degree of awareness than what a truth is. I think truth is a bar that's very high. It's a very, very high bar to pass indeed. I can't tell if it's windy outside or if it's raining outside. Sounds a little bit like rain. It is raining. I have all the doors open. We'll see how long this video goes. Um, oh, it's coming down. Well, the purpose of this video is to outline. I actually see in the Orthodox Church a sort of reluctance or an unwillingness to approach highly rationalistic, highly philosophical ideals. And it's not that the church prohibits you from doing it. It's just not the first thing they are inclined to do in the Orthodox Church. And there are even some saints in the Orthodox Church from my very rudimentary study. So I'm not claiming to be an expert on this, who have openly stated that philosophy is a bad thing. And there's even references in the Bible that support this. So I'm not saying that they're wrong for saying this, biblically wrong. Um, but more recent figures in the Orthodox tradition who have made claims that philosophy is mostly going to hurt you, and you shouldn't really do it. It's just going to distract you from the core of what the faith is supposed to be, which is a relationship between you and the divine creator of everything who has given you salvation and all of that. And so why is that attractive in 2025? Well, if you go back to the last video I just uploaded, information saturation on July 4th, well, I filmed it on July 4th. It went up on the 5th. If you go back and watch that video, what you will see is we live in an era of hypersaturation where our brains are full. The sponges have no more space for water. Water is the information. And that causes us to not really care when we hear a new piece of information or a new fact or a new moral impetus or a new whatever it is, cultural claim, etc. So our people are a little bit jaded towards empirical data and towards facts and towards new events, and they're getting a little bit weary. They're not really interested in hearing any more facts, any more information, any more data, any more sales pitches. They don't really want to hear it anymore. And so the fact that the Orthodox Church is a little bit reluctant or even outright hostile to this kind of thinking, to this information bombardment towards all of these things, actually makes it a very, very ideal choice for someone, let's say in Gen Z or in the millennial era, who wants to cleanse their palate and live kind of simply and follow a routine and be in line with God and just have a good life, have some kids, go to work, right? Like there's some appeal there. There's really some draw. And in a world where we've been attacked with this postmodern ethos, being cynical about ideas and facts is a perfectly reasonable thing. That makes a lot of sense to me why somebody would be a little bit cautious or even hostile to this stuff. And so, wouldn't that be interesting that the kind of hyper intellectual postmodern thing would actually end up producing people who are inoculated and vaccinated against it, who simply want to go live a good, simple life with a nice woman and have a family? And I do see that. And so, my theory is that that's really one of the major draws towards orthodoxy right now is that they have a kind of simple, um, and I don't mean that as a pejorative. I mean, I actually think that's a good thing. It's a kind of easy flow chart to follow. You're going to pray, you're going to show up, affirm the Trinity, affirm the virgin birth, affirm the resurrection, affirm all these things. Don't worry about it, just do it. Believe it, and your life will be better, and you'll get a family, and you'll get kids, and like the whole story of your life is solved if you just go along with these things. And I think that's kind of attractive, actually. I think that's actually drawing people in because they go, yeah, I've been waiting for someone who could actually show me a simple formula that works. And I think the interesting thing is when you look at data, it actually does work. Um, Orthodox people, Christian people in general, they have longer marriages. They're happier in those marriages. They do basically the opposite of everything that every modern person does, and they have better outcomes pretty much across the board. Their children do better. Like basically every single part of their lives is better. And so that's pretty good. Better is good. And people are becoming aware that it's actually not that complicated. It's you just simply, I don't know, the list is like 10 items long, and I'm not talking about the 10 commandments. I'm just saying like affirm this, do this, pop 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 pop, and then you get to have a better life. That's a pretty good deal. That's a pretty good deal. And you don't have to worry about all this intellectual crap that the postmodernists throw on you and all the guilt and everyone's evil and blah blah blah. It's like, no, in Christianity the assumption is that you have a flawed nature and you're prone to making mistakes, objectively true, but you have some form of salvation. And if you just buddy up to the guy who put everything on the line for you and acknowledge the gift that he gave you, um, and beg for his mercy, of course, because he's also the divine creator of everything, who in the Old Testament had a tendency to blow up cities and stuff. Um, that your life will actually be pretty good if you do that, and you don't have to feel guilty about it. You necessarily need to acknowledge what's happening and how you've caused a lot of the problems in your life, but in general, you get salvation. So you get a good life and you get salvation. And that's a lot better than an endless guilt trip that doesn't really appear to have any solution. So I think there's really a pull there, and I think a lot of it is because of the endless negativity and cynicism of the postmodernists. I really do think that. Um, and in fact, the move towards the death of like credible information into the postmodern era is increasing the likelihood that people will choose belief systems that don't actually have any intention of proving anything to you. And I think that that's probably one of the reasons why the Orthodox worldview did not catch on in the 1600s, 1700s, and 1800s in the West, is because we were moving towards science, the Enlightenment, all of these kinds of things. And we were getting a higher and higher threshold of credibility required, some kind of evidence required. And I think we finally reached a point where people don't actually care that much about evidence anymore. Most things are becoming fairly narrative based. It's like, if I can get away with it, I will. Don't do that, Briar. for scratching a door frame. Um, and so, hey, times have changed. Times have changed, and people are changing their minds about what things matter. And so I think that the antidote to the era of cynicism and skepticism, which is fundamentally postmodernism, has dragged us into that deeper than we've ever been in the West. I think the answer to that is faith, whether you're religious or not. And so I think that orthodoxy is a perfectly valid answer to that problem. And I encourage people to go. If they can go do it and they can really dive into it and believe it, I think they should. Um, I have some issues that I couldn't grok with the Orthodox world, and we've been over that a little bit. But uh, you know, I wish I could grok them because I think that the Orthodox answer is pretty darn good in a lot of ways. Um, so I think in the long run, I think in the big picture, I think Orthodoxy is better than postmodernism. And despite my having issues with certain aspects, epistemological, ontological aspects of the Orthodox worldview, I think that if you don't have those issues, Orthodoxy will serve you much better than um, postmodernism. So please feel free to go and enjoy that and dive into that faith and find some of those benefits. So, long story short, I think that the death of facts and the era of skepticism and cynicism is actually probably the major driver that's pushing people towards orthodoxy. And the reason that the Protestant group is not having the same level of success is actually because Protestants are a little bit too rational, a little bit too rationalistic. And there's some fatigue in that, and people don't actually like that very much. Also, the Protestant world is not really revolutionary enough to bring on any kind of significant change in your life. You join a Protestant church, what changes? Nothing. I mean, really nothing for the most part. Um, you get the same cultural implications of the modern sphere. Basically, all of modernity's claims are accepted in most Protestant churches. So you really don't get that revolutionary tradition that you get from the Orthodox Church that would actually give you a significantly different life if you followed it. And that's what young men are looking for. They're looking for something totally different than what modernity is offering them. And more power to them, because what modernity is offering sucks. It's a bad deal for men. So you cannot just accept the bill of goods as delivered. It's not worth it. I think that's the video, my friends. Thank you for tuning in and watching. The rain has already passed. That was kind of intense. It just dumped and then moved on. It's a beautiful Sunday. I hope you've had a lovely 4th of July weekend. I hope that these thoughts are somewhat stimulating to you and they get your mind going in interesting ways. And I'll be sure to see you on the next one. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Dan versus Everything. Bye bye.